Where I started, it's a bit of a strange story how Yolanda's started off. It was always, I loved being in the kitchen, baking mostly as a hobby. So most of my career was in hotels. So I studied hospitality in Switzerland. After I stayed in Switzerland for another 10 years. Then I went to Spain, I went to America. So I traveled the world in hospitality. Career was in spa and wellness. So nothing to do with chocolate. I was brought up in a family where there was a lot of sweets. My mom loved to make, that's how I think I got the baking part from. She loved to make different cakes, food as well, but she was more a sweet tooth. It was from a young age that I was in this kitchen and traditional ceremonial dinners and parties that my mom also used to host. So when I started to think about having a business and doing something of my own, it was also a lot coming from friends and my circle of people who were saying, Egli, you need to do something. You're so good at this. And I would do parties at home and I would do this whole thing, buffet and all really good things that everybody loved. And so I said, okay, I have to do something.
So there's the decision of, do you take your hobby and make it your everyday life? And, does that continue to be your passion?
I started off by thinking of different ideas, but I wanted it to be something which was easy. When we worked on the branding and we were working on what to do and how to do it, the big question was like, what are we going to call this place? And the name of the brand we decided was going to be my mother's name.
Yolanda.
Yes, Yolanda. And my daughter now. But yeah, that initially was my mother's name, just because it really connected us as a family, as well as me and my sister. And the family, it was really strong name that even today I feel so proud that my mom is part of this business, even just by her name. We got a good base to build this. And then we started off in 2019 with our online shop and a lab. So we were making chocolates and selling from there online, only in Cyprus. People were thinking she's crazy. She's going to sell chocolate in a country that's 40 degrees, heat, send them out. How are they going to be sending this out? And it's true, it was a challenge at the beginning. I questioned myself. I said, this is not going to work. I mean, no way.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified when we upload new content. Follow us on Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It'll help the channel, which I hope you love so much. And we have another episode here on the Financial Frontiers podcast. Today my guest is one that is very outside of the industry, which I've had most of my podcast episodes here, but as I've explained, I'm expanding the net on who I invite into the Financial Frontiers podcast. Egli, I can't remember your surname.
Stamatiou.
Egli Stamatiou from Yolanda's Chocolates.
Chocolatier.
Thank you very much for your time. You are a small business owner with, let's call it boutique, high premium quality chocolates made in Cyprus, ready to go out and conquer the world. Thank you, Egli, for your time. I'm looking forward to having a chat here about the challenges around an entrepreneur such as yourself, starting out in an industry, the food and beverage industry, the challenges you faced. Let's hear your background and get into a conversation here.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Where I started, it's a bit of a strange story how Yolanda's started off. It was always, I loved being in the kitchen, baking mostly as a hobby. So most of my career was in hotels. So I studied hospitality in Switzerland. After I stayed in Switzerland for another 10 years. Then I went to Spain, I went to America. So I traveled the world in hospitality and my career was in spa and wellness. So nothing to do with chocolate. And at some point I just decided to come back home. Circumstances in Spain, which was my last job, was a little bit challenging. So I decided to come back. And I just started spending a lot of time in the kitchen, again, as a hobby, making cakes, making everything that came to mind. And then I decided to go and do a course on cake decorating in the UK. which had a following course the week after, which was about chocolate. So that's really where everything started getting really interesting, because I just fell in love with the chocolate chemistry, the techniques you can do, how you can work with it. And I came back and, of course, made chocolate every day at home for friends and family and charity. Sometimes a while back, that was like maybe 10 years ago or maybe more. I was brought up in a family where there was a lot of sweets. My mom loved to make, she was also, that's how I think I got the baking part from. She loved to make different cakes, food as well, but she was more a sweet tooth. And so it was from a young age that I was in this sort of the kitchen and traditional ceremonial dinners and parties that my mom also used to host. So when I started to think about having a business and doing something of my own, it was also a lot coming from friends and my circle of people who were saying, Egli, you need to do something. You're so good at this. And I would do parties at home and I would do this whole thing, buffet and all really good things that everybody loved. And so I said, okay, I have to do something. And I started off by thinking of different ideas, but I wanted it to be something which was easy. So you say, what do you do as a mom that is not going to take all your time of the day, and you can go and pick them up and do? So I was like, okay, I'll do an online business. So that's how it really started off. I worked on and it all started wrong as well. We went to do a website, whereas we should have started with the branding. So all this started really wrong at the beginning, but eventually got into the right track of how to set up the proper steps of how to open your own business. And that's when I actually needed help. And so my sister came in. She had just come back from studies and she was thinking what to do. So I said, listen, let's team up. It's going to be a really cool project. Are you in for this? Let's do it. So then we started traveling together, learning from different gurus about chocolate, how to do different things. So, we got a really good base and techniques on the recipe formulation and painting and using different ingredients. So we got a good base to build this. And then we started off in 2019 with our online shop and a lab. So we were making chocolates and selling from there online, only in Cyprus. Mm-hmm. People were thinking, she's crazy. She's going to sell chocolate in a country that's 40 degrees heat, send them out. How are they going to be sending this out? And it's true, it was a challenge at the beginning. I questioned myself. I said, this is not going to work. I mean, no way.
Yeah, because one thing that I can think of, and for those who don't know, the Yolanda chocolates are these beautiful, there's a lot of craftsmanship. I mean, the art, there's these round, perfectly shaped with, artwork that's created on top, and then you take that out into 40 degrees heat, that melts and it destroys it.
Yes, in minutes. I mean, this is why also it was difficult. We had to educate people at the beginning, tell them you cannot put this in the car and go to Paphos. Not even Paphos, Larnaca in 35 degrees car temperature. So we had this at the beginning, but I think, and we even had a card inside each box saying best enjoyed, within 15 days, because people would not keep chocolate, they would not keep it in the proper conditions that they should. And I think we really educated people, and, we have a really great crowd following us who are very good fans, and a lot of companies that really support us. One thing I didn't mention, which I do before for what I was saying, is that so when we worked on the branding and we were working on what to do and how to do it, the big question was like, what are we going to call this place? And the name of the brand we decided was going to be my mother's name.
Yolanda.
Yes, Yolanda. And my daughter now. But yeah, that initially was my mother's name, just because it really connected us as a family, as well as me and my sister. And as a family, it was really strong name that even today I feel so proud that, my mom is part of this business, even just by her name.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great story. It's a good name as well. And very, it's got the Cypriot backing behind it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so traveled the world. Coincidental that you were in Switzerland, which is many know Switzerland as the land of chocolate.
True. I ate a lot of it there, but I never imagined myself being in it.
In the business.
Yes.
Which I guess is an industry that maybe gave you, I don't know, actually, if you're working in the what did you call it, spa and so in hotels, I guess, where cuisine is an important function of the hotel, where you could see how I guess different businesses are provide their products. I don't know if that was part of a catalyst towards getting you to the point where you decided, where as in many things that happen in our lives, you mentioned you came over here, you stumbled upon a course, went to the UK, and then that led to a chocolate thing. And what's inspiring is that whatever it is, you followed your passion, and you continue to create this business with the challenges that comes with it, and we'll get into that. But what makes it easier is that you're doing something that you enjoy doing, you love doing.
Which is very important.
That is important, but I'll give you another example. So my brother, right, he loves cars, loves them. Anything about cars, any conversation you have about something remote that's not even closely linked to vehicles and cars, he'll somehow find a path and bring cars into the conversation. He loves cars, and he fixes his own cars. His brakes, he services his own cars. He's got these different vehicles. But then in that discussion where you tell him, you should do something related to cars, and he says, no, I don't want to, because I love doing it as a hobby. So there's the decision of, do you take your hobby and make it your everyday life? And, does that continue to be your passion? There's this self-awareness kind of test that one needs to go through, which I think for many, that passion does pan out into, if you're making money and you're able to make a living out of something you love doing, I think that is what a win situation. You've won.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, your brother is a very wise man, I have to say, because it's true that your hobby, when it becomes your business, it doesn't mean that you would love it the same way when it becomes your business. I mean, I do love my business because I created it from scratch. I suffered doing it from all these aspects you can imagine. And the fact that it's a successful business today, it's great. And you feel very much rewarded and proud that, all these efforts were really worth it. But it's true that what I love to do is make chocolates. And today I'm a businesswoman and I have to run the business. So the amount of time you're actually making chocolates is...
Yeah, you're not making the chocolates anymore.
You're not making the chocolates anymore. So I do sometimes go home and say, oh my God, remember when I actually would be in the kitchen doing that salted caramel and everybody loving it and having everyone's reaction, which was amazing. Now all you have reactions is like your staff who are, one day it's good, one day it's not good, one day they're happy, one day they're not. So yeah, you have all that is a different aspect of when you actually initially start thinking of doing your own business.
Yeah, your job has changed now. It's not you're not in the kitchen, and it goes to any profession, right? Like one that I guess is that I've seen many repeated times here is developers, right? Coders, people, coders who are hardcore. They love it to the core, and they get into this deep focus mode where hours go by and they've just had one sip of coffee and they think only 5 minutes have passed.
Yes.
They're kind of deep focus. Those are the really good ones, right? Get them into the position where they need to now grow a business and they need to separate themselves from that place where they feel, at home. it's not interesting for them.
No.
And for those, who don't realize that is actually, the projectile of you owning your own business doesn't necessarily mean that you will be doing what you enjoy. And that discussion about following your passion and making a living out of it means, in the case of a developer, or in your case, it might not necessarily mean you start up your own business unless you want to keep it small enough where you're the one actually doing the craft.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is an interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the challenges. And you started Yolanda's 2019. Because you mentioned 10 years ago you were doing it as a hobby for friends and family. And in 2019, you started out to be only online.
Correct, yes.
What was the decision around that? And how did you face the doubts? Because, you did mention that at one point you said to yourself, I don't know if this will work because, how am I gonna do an online business in this heat? That's a big factor. Yes. And in Cyprus especially, where 8 months of the year is really hot. So
yes, well, it was a tough start, because when we started, we thought about all the options. Before you start a business, you have a lot of time to think about doing things right, to be honest with you. It's after, when you don't have time. But we did think, okay, now 40 degrees starts already from May in Cyprus. How are we going to be sending these chocolates out? So we did, do trials and check out how we could actually ship out chocolate all over in Cyprus, and with who and how. And so we found the solution, which was really great from the beginning. We found these bags that were like cooler bags. We put loads of ice packs in there, packed the chocolates so they would be protected. And, from the beginning, we hardly had any melted chocolate from any client that got our orders until today. So it was really fascinating how we actually managed to find a way to get them.
Nailed it from there.
Yes, from the beginning. And we didn't have our own cars, of course. We were a startup. So we had to find all these couriers to help us around. And we had lots of different couriers trying to help us from the beginning, some that closed down, some that are still continuing now. So we've had the struggle, mostly not our packaging, but actually finding a way to distribute, which is still a struggle until today, actually, and one of the biggest ones, if you ask me, because there are no there's no easy way of saying, I want to send this, can you send it? Let's find an easy way that you get my client's information, you ship it out, and it goes to Limassol, and the client it's delivered, and there's no problems. The problems are always on the delivery. But the truth is that opening online, was amazing decision, because in 2020 was COVID. And although my decision to open just online was just because of my family situation, it was really difficult for me to it was very difficult for me to open something and have to be there full time. So when we started off, my sister was with me, as I said, from the beginning. She was handling mostly production. I was mostly in the business part, taking orders, shipping out orders, preparing everything. And it was difficult for us to manage the whole logistics, but it worked out because, people were receiving their things on time and everything was set up. So the boxes, the recipes were worked before, the shipping and the handling was worked before. Even the follow-up, like, calling people and seeing if they received everything okay. So the service, and that's why I'm coming back to before you said, the fact that I worked in Switzerland definitely helped, because I really learned what is luxury service in the hotels that I worked for many years. So I did want to make a difference here and always spoil clients. We didn't always get it right. How it's always difficult, but we got a lot of happy clients because they knew that we were, offering a service and not just a luxury product. And then, we've been now in business 6 years, so they were asking daily and year passing year, where is your shop? Where can we find you? Where can we buy? Where? So then I said, okay, we have to have a shop at some point, and it's also. You feel like you're more established. And I think the shop has brought us a lot of business this year because people see it, they talk about it. It's the talk of where we are, where the shop is, the road there, a lot of businesses around. So I think it was quite it was a good ride until now. And I think that it was the right move to move to opening a shop after you already been online for some years.
Yeah. And so where have you got the shop now?
So the shop now is in Demosthenis Severi Street in Nicosia. It's close to the Presidential Palace, if you know that street, where there's a lot of companies, Wargaming and PwC, a bit further down there. And we have all the products there, so you can actually go and choose your box, which is also something we could not offer online. Because it was just impossible in a small fridge to have like 50 orders of different types of combinations. So they can actually come and make their own box, which is, I think, the privilege of having the shop. But also because, they come and they can see the products. It's different to see a picture, it's different to see the real box
Online,
there. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
And so, in this day and age where the internet has changed a lot on the way conventional, traditional businesses do business, I think you're a good example of how still, even today, with all the technology and online and how it's kind of changed the world, physical presence does still play a role, and
yes, definitely.
it's I guess it works different things. So it works towards showing your presence, so branding in a sense where you're not an online shop that people don't know where to find you. If you're physically located somewhere, they could drive by and they see, oh, that's Yolanda's. We normally buy online, but that's where they are physically. We can go see them. And also almost like a sampling kind of service where you can go and see all the different products that you can then either take with you or go online and then order it. And so that's working out good for you.
Yes, I mean, it's as you said, really. I think it is, people remember when they see us now, they heard we have a shop, so a lot of people come. And, at the beginning, I thought nobody would come. So many friends would say, oh, finally you opened the shop, finally we can come and shop. And I'm like, yeah, this is an excuse for not buying online for so many years, but actually they did come. And it's amazing that, people really, they meant it when they said, I don't know how to buy online, I can't be bothered, I want to go and stop in my car and buy something. And me, Egli, as being like, I buy everything online. Even when I was abroad, I would buy everything online, my clothes, everything. I just felt it was a waste of time to get into the car, go to the place, stop, buy something and get out and go. But some people just enjoy it, or they like to take the time to go and buy something. So,
but there is some form of, let's call it entertainment, time passing, where, I also do the online shopping, but I enjoy going to the mall, for example, and walking through the shops, getting in, trying it out. It's, there's a different, I guess, that human touch, to it. So, okay, now we've got you here where you're online and your marketing. So you mentioned before you were deciding between creating a website or branding, and one of the two. Could you speak more to how you see those different? What was your strategy around creating a brand, and how does that how is that separate to you setting up a website?
My goodness, you know what? It's so funny you're saying it, because I wish somebody asked me this question at the beginning. Because when I started, first of all, I had no idea you had to do a brand.
Yeah.
As simple as that. Although I studied marketing in my university and everything, but I don't know, at the time, maybe you just thought of things completely different. So I found a branding expert, actually, who helped me put everything straight in line. And I'm so grateful for this woman. She's always going to be one of the top person I worked with to build this brand, because without her, I think we wouldn't be here today. So when I worked with Simone on branding, she's the sort of person who put everything right, and how we have to work on our story. And we created a whole branding, workbook to get to where we actually found our favorite colors, our logo, the name. My mom sort of came out from questions that she had put for us to answer. The colors of the boxes, like a lot of companies, you go and you buy chocolate, but they all have the same box, right? You get it in 3 different sizes and they have one color. But because we like so many colorful, we like so many colors, we said, okay, why don't we do each box another color? We don't care if they don't like that color, but we do. So I think this was also something that made our brand unique. The fact that we worked on such a different type of packaging, which was inspired by another chocolatier. I'm not going to hide, we were inspired. We researched a lot of chocolatiers. We saw what they were doing. We, when we launched when the boxes came the first day, I won't forget. It was amazing. It was like, oh my God, this box is so amazing. We were also thrilled to look at it. So we can imagine how people perceived it as well, looking at such a nice box that you can keep at home and put things inside and, keep it as in your collection. Working on the brand was, very exciting part of building the company. And then, of course, when we finished the branding and we had the name, our boxes already set up to be ordered, we were working at the same time, of course, on the recipes. We had worked a lot on the recipes. It took us a year to find the first 6 flavors that we found that would be ideal for the brand, ideal for Cyprus, that everybody would like. We didn't go to do like an Arian Carpusi sort of flavor. We went into flavors that people would really like, more Mediterranean nuts and salted caramel and flavors that you would recognize, so that people would like it. And then gradually you would add like more flavors that would be a bit less popular to have, combination. And then after everything else was finished, that's when we actually worked on the website. And the website was a struggle as well, because if you remember in 2018, which was when we were like launching everything, there weren't many companies that had e-shops. So it was really, really difficult to find someone to actually do this for us. And we didn't know also what we had to pay for something like this.
Have you heard of Shopify?
Yes, but we were told that for our website that had a lot of customizations could not be done on Shopify at the time. And even today, when I talk with a lot of people, they say, WordPress is much better for this sort of websites that, need a custom theme and you need to add this and that. It would be less, more complicated in another platform. So the website has been the same since. We're working on it a lot now. We're trying to do some changes to upgrade, all these different things you hear, SEO and this and that, and don't forget this. And so it is a challenge because these things are changing so fast. You have to keep up with.
Yes.
But it needs to be a, user experience. So we're looking at all the aspects of how to make it more attractive for somebody who goes to buy something online.
Right. This actually reminds me of there's so many things to consider. SEO obviously is when we talk about online presence and all the things you need to consider. SEO is obviously a big one. That is since the 2000s, let's call it, when Google dominated the online advertising space. And then social media, obviously, afterwards with Facebook, with location, you're able to target on demographic and whatever it is. But here's a super interesting story. I'm sure you've heard of this one. And just phenomenal in terms of how branding can just almost have like a nuclear bomb effect for businesses like yours, the Dubai chocolate.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What a success story. And what is the name? My daughter keeps telling me this. She's on the internet. I keep telling you, you're
Is
not.
it knafe? No.
Yeah, they're knafe. Yeah,
Knafe.
but I mean, there's a type of there's a term that they use, asimor or something, where you hear the sounds, like when they're eating sweets and you hear.
Oh,
that.
Really? No, I don't know the name. The crunch of the
Yeah,
kadif.
So there's a term.
Yes.
And not only kadif is like it could be. Whatever,
any sound that sounds like the effect.
The effects. And so that, it's highlighted, right? It's amplified. And you hear, and that a bunch of influencers took this Dubai chocolate, clicking, creating these videos. It went ballistic viral. Ballistic.
It's crazy. And I can't believe it's not over yet.
It's continuing with full force.
Yes. It's amazing.
And now you're seeing this, Dubai Chocolatier, the Eon.
Yes,
everybody's creating this
Lindt opened a brand new shop with it.
Pistachio-based, incredible.
Yes, it is.
If something like that had happened to Yolanda's Chocolatier, would you be able to handle the load? I mean, the founder of Dubai Chocolate, the original founder, I forget the name.
Yes, it's a young woman, a young mother like me. She just
like
started this from home,
100%. And
yes.
she that started out from a craving. She was pregnant.
Yes.
And she had a craving for pistachio flavored chocolate or something. Yes. And then from there she created her own.
Yes. Yeah, and it blew.
Sales through the roof.
Yes.
That for her, it's awesome. Mm-hmm. But it's a challenging time as well because, for her to catch that wave, if you don't have the ability to ride the wave, it's going to crush you.
Yes. I don't know how she did it. I would love to find out the story. But I tell you, when I heard about this first, I was like, oh my God, another viral thing, because that's how I react in these things. Whereas my chef, she was like, Egli, we need to do this. Let's get doing this. I said to her, no. I don't like to copy what viral things happen because this is today and tomorrow it's gone. And I've just gone and looked for ways to do this type of chocolate. And so then at some point I had someone who called me and they wanted to order a big quantity of Dubai. And I said, okay, now we have to do it. So that's why we did it. And thank God we did it because I was late as well to do it because I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe it would go to this point. But of course, when I do something, because this is part of my nature, I need to do it different, right? So I had to make my own mold. I had to do a different packaging. I had to make it more luxury. So that's why, when we made our Dubai, we were late. We launched it in November last year. And, I'm happy we had because everyone was calling and asking for it. And because I had, I had started planning the packaging and all that, and everything was, prepared, which is another challenge we have because since we're a luxury brand, packaging is not the easiest because you always have to have a luxury package to fit anything we do. So it's not easy to have that always ready in things when things like this happen. So I worked on it from the summer. In November, we were ready. And we worked on a recipe that was also ours, like in the sense that I wanted it to be more nut than anything else inside, which is what you find very often. That's why you find also the cheaper versions and different versions of ready-made paste that people buy. We make it from scratch. Like we really buy the best pistachios, Greek pistachios, because others are not so good. And we work really from making everything from scratch, the kadif and everything there's a supplier who makes only kadif in Cyprus. I didn't know. Wow. So we found out now.
Okay. That person's business for sure has increased as a ripple effect.
I didn't ask him, but I'm sure he's definitely increased his capacity as well. Yeah.
And the truth is, it is really tasty. I enjoy it. I like pistachio.
It is. I mean, it is a heavy one. I mean, you can't eat like a whole bar, at least from ours, I think you can't. But it is a nice treat. Ours is like a square size, so you cut it and everybody can take a piece, and then in 2 minutes there's none left. So when you have it socially, it's a really nice product to have. Yeah.
Wow. So, so you don't only have the round shaped chocolates. You're in the Cyprus duty free, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And over there you have the packaging again. You mentioned packaging and something that I can attest to as a consumer, that's something that did impress me. I was impressed with the packaging, by the way.
Yes.
So I'll say well done on that. And so I thought that Yolanda's was only these round
bonbons.
Is that what it's called? So
bonbons, yeah.
Like little minions.
Yes. Well, yes, we started off with that product because it was something that was also a bit unique, and you couldn't find it anywhere in Cyprus at the time, because since I was reading a lot about baking and everything, I did come across chocolatiers, and especially in the States, they were much stronger in doing these designs by hand, and they are done by hand. Every single dot you see on that chocolate is done by hand. So there is a lot of labor involved in designing each chocolate. But the fact that they're so colorful and shiny and it's really attractive, in the box and also as a gift. And we worked a lot on the recipes, and also the design, so that when you open the box, it's like very pleasant to look at. When we started with the bonbons, we wanted to have also other products to accompany them. So we did chocolate bars, which were not Dubai, but other different flavors as well that are interesting and you can't find very often in the market. We did truffles. And everything we did, as I said before, there's always a packaging that comes with it. And that's the part that I enjoy at least the most, because it's creative. And I love to create packaging, like come up with the new thing we're going to do and how we're going to pack it and how it's going to come. I love that. So I think that's also what makes us quite different, not just in Cyprus. I last summer I went all around Europe and saw, I went to London and Paris, and I visited all the chocolatiers that exist. And I didn't see anyone that had such a vibrant branding, on the packaging. We work on the recipes, of course, and what you eat is really also as good as the packaging. It's not just packaging. Sometimes you find the packaging and then the inside is not so great, right? Yeah. So we work on both. And I really, really put so much importance in having the best ingredients. I don't care if they're more expensive today. I'm still going to give you that. And I'm just going to increase my price, because I prefer people to know that I'm not going to change what I put inside just because today, cocoa butter is 3 times the price it was, 5 years ago. So, it's an interesting evolution of products that we have. And then we added, of course, seasonal products like Christmas trees and Easter eggs.
Right.
And yeah.
So your target audience is not, your target customer is not so much the supermarkets that are going to do this at mass scale. Mm-hmm. It is businesses and I guess individuals who are willing to pay that premium price.
Yes, we have our online customers, of course, but the majority is B2B. Because they normally want, for a special event, and they also have normally more budget for these sort of things like gifting. So companies are more comfortable. Yeah, weddings, christenings, and this sort of parties, it's a very limited budget because we are a small population, like, in Cyprus. So the majority don't really have a big budget on these sort of events. But when we do, we do offer definitely the option, and we have some really lovely options for christenings and weddings to show our customers. But the majority is the corporate, and they like it because we can also customize the box. We do logo on the box. We can do personalized notes that they add inside. So there are a few options that they have as businesses which they like, that we offer that, and we have the more personalized service in that offering as well.
Nice. So what is the cost, more or less? Is it by gram, per 100 grams, or what is the cost of your chocolate, and how does it compare to a Kit Kat?
Okay, well, the thing is that, the Kit Kat, and the secret to that, why actually Nutella company is so successful, is because most of the product in it is biscuit and it's not chocolate. Chocolate has become so expensive right now. It's actually, there's a lot of big companies that actually have gone bankrupt the last year. Big corporations that we knew for years in Europe, that because they could not cope with the prices and maybe their margins were very small. So I think that, yes, it's fascinating. I read about it lately. I could not believe, Mozart, the chocolates that were known in Austria, They closed down this year, and it was, a brand that we knew from kids. That,
For sure.
Absolutely, it's crazy. So,
but what's gone more expensive? Sorry to interrupt there.
It's everything really, everything.
So it's just the general inflation.
The general inflation. Of course, it's explained. It's not that it's just like everything that's gone up. It's like cocoa butter, for example. It's what we use. It's what we use to in the recipe. Like, for example, the coloring we do, you need to put cocoa butter with the color to make that shine on each product. And cocoa butter was, if you would imagine, not 5 years ago, 2 years ago, the year before, was about 250 euros for 25 kilos. Now it's about 850 euros for 25 kilos.
Oh, jeez.
So we're talking about really big changes in prices. And not only that, the same way cocoa butter, which is part of the bean, part of the fruit of the cacao bean, is the whole thing that went expensive. Even the chocolate, the whole process. The farms have disappeared for different reasons that we read and hear on the news. And, everything's become so expensive. So the costs have gone up tremendously. When I do my costing, of course, I'm going to see all the raw materials. I'm going to see my packaging. I'm going to calculate it in a way that, can be profitable with discounts that we might give to different corporations or businesses that will take, larger quantities. So there is quite a lot of work to do there. But yeah, the mass production chocolates, the big difference with us is that they do them all by machinery. Whereas when you take one of our chocolates, you know that it's been through, a manual process of taking literally the butter, melting the butter, adding the chocolate, adding the fresh cream, adding the fruits. And, many times even we use like fresh fruits because I have a lot of lemons in my garden. I bring boxes of lemons and we peel them. We use the pulp, we use the juice, we use the skin. So
Jeez.
There is a process in that is quite unique to our brand and the way we do things. Whereas when you buy a chocolate Twix, you know that it's passed through different processes.
So you obviously, as you are now, cannot go into that mass production. Yes.
I cannot with some of, it's difficult to say. I guess the raw materials, they can be like that, but you can get machinery that can help you process faster. Because the process of making our chocolates, for example, is painting them, making a shell like we call with chocolate, filling them and sealing them. So this process of filling and sealing, and this can be done by machinery, which is probably, where our next step would be when we scale up to be able to sell bigger quantities.
Right.
My intention is not to become a factory. I don't even want that. But at some point you need to scale if you want to be offering your product further than where you are right now. And I think we will have to, because we have a lot of interest from abroad as well to collaborate. And I think that, Cyprus also is a small place. So at some point you don't want to be, the competition will be growing. So at some point you need to think of the future and how you want this to evolve.
So what is the price? I don't know if you said it, if you mentioned the
so the price, you asked me the price for
so they say how does Yolanda's chocolates
pricing how much it is to buy something, for example. So we have different size boxes, so that's why it varies. We have the smallest box you can buy in the shop if you walk in now is a box of 6 bonbons, and that is 11 euros. And then the bigger the box, of course, the lower the cost it is per chocolate. So you can only get a box right now and you decide which size box. So the box of, for example, with 54 bonbons, it's 70 euros. And then there's smaller boxes in between that you can also buy, which are more popular as well, depending on the occasion.
Okay.
And then we have chocolate bars, which also are varying depending what you want, which if you're going to get 3 together, 6 or 1 bar on its own. Then we have the Dubai bar. We do have one of the most expensive Dubai bars around, but then again, I explained to you why before.
Yes.
So our Dubai bar is 20 euros for 180 grams, which is quite a big bar. It's quite a hefty one. And then we have truffles, which are also in a really beautiful box as well for 26, and the medians, which are little drops of chocolate with different fruits and nuts as well, which we took so much time to create, because whenever you take one of our chocolates and you taste it, there's always going to be a burst of different flavors. It's not going to be just one subtle thing. So the combination of that sometimes, requires ingredients which are quite expensive and coated in a way that are protect the crunch. And so there's different technicalities and tricks that you need to do.
It's so fascinating on how all these different the skills that are required around a business like this. So, you've got to put your lab coat on, and do your special kind of ingredients and your touch, which is, I think, that is more connected to what your passion is. And so I would imagine
like at home as well, everything needs to be the best.
Yes. And so that is what I guess you enjoy the most of, is when you come up with what your recipe is in the process of creating a new product, like as you did for Dubai. Are you the one that puts on the lab coat and decides, which ingredients and how much of this and how much of that, and this is what it's going to be? Or
well, I do have my word, definitely. I mean, I have a super pastry chef helping me with finding, working on recipes and all that, and we decide. But yeah, she's not going to go and buy another butter or another cream unless we talk about, the option of changing something. Yeah, because it might change the whole thing,
Of course.
And I've had chefs saying, "Oh, you don't need to use that; it's too expensive." And I say, "No, it will change the whole thing. I don't want to change it now. That's how it is."
Yeah, you've defined who you are.
Yeah.
And then you've also obviously got, which you need to type, and maybe something that you're not so keen on, and that is the correct pricing structure, right? And we also spoke about the branding and, how you enter into the market. You've already established that, you're a premium chocolate and whatever, and your pricing is there. But there is this, it's got to be a researched, and an insightful decision where you don't just slap on some high number, because you're not going to get the consumer to accept that. It's got to be justified in a way, and as long as it ties into a reason, a logical reason, and the reasoning here is that there's a personal touch to it. At the moment, it's a very high laborious process. There's a manual process around this. That's why it works out to almost €2 per bonbon, right? And at the end of the day, as long as the consumer understands that, the storytelling behind it, which ties into the brand and then ties into what that price is, it's, that you set that expectation right, and then people will pay. It is okay.
Yes. I do get very criticized about the pricing, and especially online. We've had a lot of people comment, but at the end of the day, it's so rewarding, because on the back of that person who's going to, crucify us for the prices, there's somebody under there who's going to come and say, you know what, this is what it is, and the quality of what they sell, it has a price tag. So if you want, just go and buy a Twix, and you don't need to comment on here, Yeah. So there has been conversations like this where I've been backed up so much by people who support us, and this is why I'm so grateful, because Cypriots, we always criticize them for not knowing to judge quality. And there are still some people who cannot judge, and they go to buy things that are, much cheaper, although they get quotes from us, and it's fine, there's a market for everyone. But the fact that, people do know, and they understand that when you buy that, it has a price, but it's because also we pay so much attention to every detail of it. And we are in Cyprus. So if I was anywhere in the world but Cyprus, and because we're an island, the limitations, I could be even more expensive than I am right now in Cyprus. I have a limited possibilities to have much more expensive prices, which I could have because of the prices of the cost of things going so much. But I'm limited to a small population, so I need to be careful about how I price things.
Are you not exporting yet?
You can actually buy online, and we ship it all around the world, globally, but we don't have actually yet a wholesale supplier distributing our products somewhere abroad. But we are working on it, and it's once we can increase our capacities and be more comfortable, we will look into that option. I mean, we've had so many companies call us for this, so there is a lot of interest and there is a lot of potential, but I don't want to do things fast moves. You know, you need to do it slowly and surely to get things right. Yeah.
Nice. So what does the future look like for Yolanda's, at least for now, at least what you have already planned?
Yes. Well, one thing is to definitely, you know, work on production, like be able to be a bit more efficient and in getting the capacity we need yearly, because we had like a really huge increase this year from last year in terms of demand, which was not really expected. I was fearing this year because last year was a bit, Easter was very strange last year. So Christmas was very good, but because you have these worries and you don't know how to plan, so you just make assumptions, and this is what, you know, you do. You can't really plan much. So we've been doing quite well since we opened, you know, after Christmas this year. So, you know, we have to plan how we're going to do capacity for the full year, and then sort of start planning 2026 and what we want to do so that we can actually expand at least to one other country, starting with wholesale. And, you know, we have, like I said, a lot of interest from people who've been calling us, and we can't give them an answer. So hopefully, you know, we will be able to expand. So that's one of the plans that we have without doing big moves. I mean, I'm not interested in huge, big moves. And then we have a space in the property where we have the shop and the production and the e-shop and everything, where we are planning to do an academy. So this was also something I wanted to do since the beginning, actually, but the space was never enough. Where we will bring different professional chefs to teach. You know, also professional chefs that can come and learn from them. We will do courses ourselves to teach people who want to learn how to do chocolate. It will be for businesses to organize team building events. So that space is sort of dedicated for this, and it will be done during our lower months, like from this, like let's say May after Easter to September. We'll be doing these courses. And then that space will also be used for production and preparation in Christmas and the periods where we have a lot of prepping and work to get done for the season.
You know what would be really cool is if you become a guest on the MasterChef. And
yes.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect fit. You go and you become a judge in one of the episodes, and then they should try and make some of the Yolanda chocolates. I think it would be great exposure.
Yes, actually, I didn't know that I could do that. I've been following MasterChef, but not completely. But I would love that, because I am very picky on flavors. I have to say, wherever we go and eat, I can judge right away from eating something if it's good or not. Yeah, it's interesting.
Submit.
You should look into that.
Give them submit that idea to them. Why not?
True.
So the question about, do you create the chocolates and keep stock?
Yes.
So you kind of project what your sales are going to be, and you hold stock, and then so that they're ready to be shipped. You don't prepare on order.
We used to do that.
Right.
But with the scaling of the business, and especially because imagine like 70% of your business is at Christmas. So it's impossible to do everything in 1 month. So you start preparing, you know, everything. So you are organized for that. I mean, in November, the most of the time what we do is actually start preparing the packaging. We prepare all the boxes so that everything is piled up and ready to, you know, to ship. So there is a lot of prepping to do. And we're working on, you know, making new recipes as well that have longer shelf life. So if we do go abroad, that we can actually manage that better, because, you know, the fact that our chocolates are only a few months, you know, of shelf life is restricting sometimes to be able to sell to other countries. And
do they sit in the fridge? Or
in the airport, we have them in the fridge. Just because I asked the airport and they were so nice to actually provide that, just because it's safer. I know that they're there and they will last longer when they're in the proper conditions, you know, because sometimes, I don't know, in the summer in the airport, maybe the aircon is not working and, you know, you have like all sorts of, you know, when the chocolate has shocks in temperature, that's why it becomes white. Right. A lot of people don't know that it's because of, you know, if it's 20 and then it's 30 and then goes down to 20 and it hardens again, then that's why it's not good anymore. The flavor might not change, but looking at it, you don't like to eat it.
Yeah, and I think the flavor profile does change a bit when that happens.
Yes, it depends, but yeah, it's a more psychological thing, really. Yeah, it is.
Interesting. Do you have any no sugar, so zero sugar versions or no?
Now we don't. It is an interesting product to work on. Now again, because we're in Cyprus and the people who are diabetic are really increasing, crazy, and a lot of people who don't want to eat sugar. But at this point, I wouldn't focus on that because it's a smaller amount of people who are, who prefer something without sugar. Whereas to getting a gift that, you're going to eat a chocolate, don't think about now eating a bit of sugar, you're not going to have the whole box. But it is something to look into because the world is turning to a healthier world and people are looking to that as an option. But that would require a lot of research from us because I wouldn't do something just to say, this is no chocolate, no sugar, sorry. I would do it and work out recipes that would make it taste as good as with. And that's difficult to find today because I have a friend who's diabetic and we talk about it often about how that she can't find things to eat that are, no carbs, no sugar, no this, no that. So it is a very interesting topic though, and a very interesting thing to research. Mm-hmm.
Many challenges that are coming up. I wish you all the success. I think we've been speaking here for more than an hour already.
Really? Wow, time flies. Yes.
I love that story. A Cypriot success story, which I think the world should know about. I do hope you get the Dubai level of recognition. The Dubai, why not? Mm-hmm. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. It was really amazing.
Let the audience know where to find you online. Is it Yolanda? Just give the website.
Sure. Well, we're in yolandachocolatiers.com, but you can find us also at Duty Free Airport in Larnaca. We are also in a few places. You can find us in Walt Market, which is different from Walt in all cities. So we are in Limassol, Paphos, Larnaca, in the different cities for some of our collection. And we have just launched as well at the casino in Limassol, the hotel. They have a store which is a bit inside the hotel area where they sell our products. I think that's about it.
City of Dreams.
City of Dreams, yes. City of Dreams.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I wish you all the success. Thank you very much, Egli, for your time. And that's a wrap.
Thank you. I brought you a box so you can try the chocolates.
Nice. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.